I will show you how to sew a ribbon loop into your felt ornaments. But my preference is a loop of heavy-duty green thread. When I started making felt ornaments, I started with animals, and I felt like this created the illusion of them being real. That makes me sound too weird. Okay, without the ribbon, the emphasis is on the ornament. But I will admit, sometimes an ornament needs a ribbon loop. It just looks better. Please note, if you want your ornament to face forward, position your ribbon like this. I'm hanging this at the side of my tree, so this is how I positioned my loop. And you don't have to do this, but the first thing I did, because this ornament was tricky to sew, is I just tacked down the ribbon to the back piece of the felt ornament with a couple of stitches. You can't see, especially if you're using thread that matches your felt. So now put together your two pieces of felt. Start doing your blanket stitch on one side of that ribbon loop. This ornament was so tricky to sew because there's cardboard inside. That's why I'm struggling. And don't forget, if you're new to hand sewing, I have a detailed tutorial on how to sew a blanket stitch from both a right-handed point of view and a left-handed point of view. I also have a follow-up video on what to do when you run out of thread. But back to our ribbon loop. So continue doing your blanket stitch all the way up to the edge of the ribbon. And at this point, my secret is that I abandoned the blanket stitch. I love it for sewing together the sides of an ornament. It looks really neat. It keeps the stuffing in. But at this point, we just want to anchor the ribbon. We don't want to see the thread. So at this point, you can switch your stitch and just stitch back and forth through the ribbon and the two layers of the felt. I flip my ornament over to make sure that I'm catching both layers of felt, and then I'm not stitching beyond so that you can see it on the ribbon. Once again, it helps so much to use thread that matches your felt color, because then all of your stitches really disappear. My recommendation is always to try hand quilting thread. It's very sturdy for these projects, but I'm just using regular sewing thread. When you're confident that you've secured the ribbon inside the ornament with a few stitches, then you can knot off your thread. This is what it looks like when you're done sewing. And then what I like to do is do any type of knotting at the back of the ornament. So I will go back to my last stitch and I will knot off my thread there. And I usually do 2 knots for security, unless my thread is really slippery, but I find that 2 is sufficient. And then I often talk about burying my thread, and this is what I mean. So instead of knotting the thread here and then trimming it, what I will just do is I will push it back through the felt and I will poke up somewhere else. And then this is where I will trim the thread. Here's what it looks like when it's done. And this is my second attempt at doing the beaded feather. Last time we were divided on whether it looked like a leaf or a feather, but this time I used 1 color bead and the negative space is the felt, which is a darker color. So I think it's an improvement on the original, but should I maybe have hung it the other way? Check out my other videos for more felt ornament sewing tutorials.